Hello and welcome to today's Facecast. Today we're in the Old Testament, in the book of Daniel, a prophetic book. This is a book that was set in around 600 years BC, so around 2,600 to 2,700 years ago. Daniel is a young Israelite who's taken captive into Babylon, Babylon being that place of exile away from his Jewish homeland, and he's taken into the court of the king, King Nebuchadnezzar. Wonderful name, isn't it? King Nebuchadnezzar. And in that court, he works as a court official, like a government official or a civil servant, but he also develops the life of a prophet. So Daniel spends a long time, all his life, in this courtroom or this entourage of the king. But he offers these prophecies. And a prophet in that time was not necessarily telling you what was going to happen. It was warning you about the life you were living and calling you back onto the path the Lord wants for you. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was living way outside of that life that the Lord might want for someone. He was a king unto himself. He wanted to do his own things and be his own person. But he gets humbled by God. He gets called by God and told by God that what he's doing is wrong. And he gets called to one side, Nebuchadnezzar this is, and he is brought as low as you could possibly be. Everything is taken away from him. His life is almost destroyed until he sees the error of his ways and he turns to the God that Daniel has been proclaiming for all these years. And eventually Nebuchadnezzar comes to his senses and realizes that his following God is the way he should be. And once he has done so, he says this, and this is in Daniel chapter 4, verse 37. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. Well, he is, of course, speaking about himself and anybody else who has been walking a prideful life, living full of themselves and their own importance. He realizes the God of heaven is able to humble them as he has humbled Nebuchadnezzar himself. I praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven. Now he's paying tribute to another greater king than he, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And that's a refrain that echoes down through the ages of the Israelites of old and the church of new. Everything that God does is right and all his ways are just, justified, correct, right, honest, upright. That's the big lesson that Nebuchadnezzar learns when his life is turned around. But see what it is that takes that turning around. It's a lifetime of ministry from Daniel. It's a lifetime of keeping on, being the person he needs to be. Even through the difficult and trying times that Daniel endures, he keeps on faithfully proclaiming and declaring his God to all those around him. And eventually, even the king comes to recognize that God in heaven is there and is waiting for him and calls him to one side. It's a wonderful ministry that Daniel has. It's a wonderful example to us of the longevity of the Christian faith. This is not a fad that one enters. This is a lifetime's commitment that one follows. That's what Daniel says to me. He might say different things to you. As you read the book of Daniel, you'll see all different kinds of people, and you'll recognize in them all different kinds of people that you know today. King Nebuchadnezzar is one type of proudful person who exalts himself, being the king of the land. There are other people that Daniel comes across and speaks into. I'm sure you'll enjoy the book if you read it for the first time. If you haven't read it for a while, I'm sure you'll pick up on it and remember certain favourites. If it's something that you read regularly, I'm sure even when you go back into it, you find new things to interest you and take comfort from. All his ways are right and everything he does is just. It's a wonderful proclamation about our Father in heaven. Bye for now. See you soon.